Welcome back to the Wizard Shop. Now we got a lot of the haters and trolls handled in the last video, and we're back to what we're here for, cars. Since we're on the topic of Priuses, we did Prius last video and Tyler had a video of blowing up his Prius. I thought I'd bring my daughter's Prius in and we'll talk about it. I have several customers that have these cars and they have absolutely no idea how they work. What's under the hood? Where's the battery? Where's the main battery? They have no idea. I thought, well, I'll show you guys. I'll show you some of the cool things about the car and where everything's located. So I haven't even had a chance to really look over this car. Once my daughter got a hold of it, she was like, "It's mine, get away from my car, Dad." Well, finally, she's gonna let it loose. We can take a look at it, and as you can see, we live on a dirt road. It's dirty. She needs to wash it. Let's get it on the lift and look underneath. I haven't even looked underneath yet. Let's take care of it together. So a lot of people ask me what kind of car you should buy, and of course I've always said get a Toyota. We got rid of my daughter's DeVille. It was pretty easy. It's like, I'm getting her a Toyota, no question about it. This car has 190,000 miles on it. I got it from EuroAsian, the guy I've talked about, Bob, several times in Wichita. Check him out online, euroasian.com. He's got all kinds of cool cars, really cool cars. So the mileage didn't scare me on this car. Not at all, because I've seen some with 250 with the original battery still in them. I don't expect this thing to last for 20 years. I just get her through college. That's all it's got to do. Let's start off in the front and work our way back and take a look. Looks like her splash shield could use a bolt or something to hold this up, but look at that. Almost 200,000 miles and just minor seepage. I find this happens over and over and over on Toyotas. You won't see this in a Chevy, Dodge, Ford, Hyundai, any of those with 200,000 miles. Just clean. No transmission leaks, no rear main seal leaks, no CV shaft slinging grease everywhere. It's dry under here. We do see condensation dripping from the air conditioner, and that's a good thing. That means it's working. You see this plate? This is an interesting fact that I'll start out with. That's a provision for a starter when they use this engine on other cars. This car doesn't have a starter. It is the transmission with the electric motor that starts your engine. That's why it makes a whirring noise when it starts your engine instead of the normal like a starter. So let's move on back. Let's look at these brakes. Brakes are about halfway gone, but they're still good. Nothing loose there. Same story on the brakes there. No CV shaft leaks, no power steering rack leaks. Some very minor seepage, but look at the engine block. It's just so clean, except for the minor seepage I've talked about. You just don't see that on the other cars with 200,000 miles on them almost. There's the exhaust. Look at this little dinky exhaust system. It looks like a broom handle that's been bent. Looks like somebody hit a few things with it. It's so tiny. I don't see any issues here. There's our fuel tank. No issues there. Got little drum brakes in the back. Looks like our ride height sensor's broke. I'll have to get that ordered or repaired. Hasn't had any effects on the car really, but I'll take that any day of the week on a car with this many miles on it, if that's all I find. Nothing leaking. Struts are still good. Tires are like new. They got very thick tread. They still have the little nipples still on them. Well, I guess I'll lower it back down. I don't see anything to speak of other than the little plastic arm that's broke here. I'll get that fixed. I could probably repair that for pretty cheap. I'll check one more thing. Nope, they're good. Wheel bearings are good. Let's lower it back down. Other than the splash shield and this, that's it. Some of you might have noticed that I threw the keys on the ground, took them out of the car. That is a very good habit to get into with Priuses, especially when you're doing an oil change or working on it, but especially an oil change. I have physically seen another tech at a shop I worked at had a Prius on the lift. He left the key in the slot with the power still on. He wasn't thinking. It wasn't a big deal. It was going to be a quick oil change, drop it back down, and out the door. He drained the oil. He took the oil filter off. He went to go get an oil filter, and the engine decided to start itself because the AC needed to run, or whatever reason it was, I don't know, but with no oil in it. Luckily, it didn't damage the engine. It was just like he knocked a bunch of stuff over and ran up and reached up in there and turned it off. But don't leave the keys in while you're doing an oil change. So some of you guys some of you are mechanically inclined, and this video might be kind of boring for you, but this video is really aimed at the person who owns one of these or sees these cars on the road and just really, it's a hybrid, but any more than the fact that it's a hybrid, how or why, or they don't know. So we're going to take a look. Okay, so here's our little rinky-dink engine, just like we did on Tyler's car over there. We put a good used engine from J&J Auto. This one runs like a top, runs perfect. You got two systems here. Here's the ICE, or the internal combustion engine. And over here is your Synergy drive, which is going to be the electric motor, the transmission, and everything all in one unit right here. You actually have two cooling systems on here. It's very easy for someone to do an oil change. They check the antifreeze right here and they say, yeah, it looks good, it's full. What about this one? This one's full also, but this one cools the Synergy drive portion, the control module, and it runs through the transaxle and cools that off, and it has its own separate little radiator. This one is for the combustion engine. The reason why they do that is if there were ever a reason something went wrong with the engine and it got oil mixed with the coolant, you do not want to run that through here. It really cause some serious issues. So they have their own separate cooling system. On the side of the motor, there is a tiny little bitty serpentine belt and a water pump. That's it. No alternator, no AC compressor, on the belt that is. No power steering pump, just the water pump. The belt on this car only runs the water pump. There is no other accessories. The steering is electric. The AC compressor is electric. It runs off of the battery for this system. The alternator, there isn't one. This right here charges the main batteries, and then there is an inverter that uses to charge the little auxiliary battery. Doesn't need an alternator. This is your charging system right here. All there is on the side of the engine is a water pump. It's pretty simple to work on these cars. These cars are very reliable. Some people shy away from them and they're scared because they're complex, but really they're some of the most reliable cars, even out of the Toyotas that I've ever seen. Hoovy even mentioned when I told him I was getting my daughter a Prius, he said, yep, no, that's a no-brainer. That's just very wise. So, okay, let me stop. Someone's trying to call me. I'm filming! Yeah, I am, but it's no big deal. Yeah, I've done it to you a few times. That's going to be great. Okay, I will. All right, bye. Okay, well, where were we? Let me try to remember since Tyler interrupted me here. Okay, so you see these corrugated tubing that's orange. And you see some back here that's orange. That's high voltage. That's what that's telling you. If you have a Prius and you open the hood and you see these orange, it looks like Halloween, orange and black. That is high voltage lines. If you're ever in a wreck, that also tells emergency workers, don't cut that, don't mess with that. You could die. You literally could die if you cut that with some cutters. So that's what that tells there. Very simple engine, really very little maintenance. There's only one accessory, the water pump. There's not much else to go wrong with it. Let's go take a look in the back. So my daughter has a bunch of junk in her car. I'm not cleaning that out. She's a teenager. That's what they do. Let's go take a look at Hoovie's Prius. That's the same car, same setup. A lot easier to show you. In the back we have a little tiny battery called the auxiliary battery. This is what runs your dash and your radio, your power windows, power locks, all those things. That doesn't run off your main battery. If you go out and your car won't start, you have issues in your overhead lights and things, this is the culprit here. You need to look into this little battery here. Let me lift some of this carpet stuff out of the way. And just as you expect, here's a spare tire, but that's not really what we're here to look at. This is your main battery here. This has stacks of lithium batteries lined up. You see a Prius and you think, where's the battery pack on that thing? I know it's got batteries in it. Well, this is where it resides. It has a cooling system that runs air to cool the batteries. It has temperature sensors and everything to make sure they're happy. And there is a main disconnect on this battery if you're ever going to change it or take it out or work on the main, those orange wires we talked about. You can quickly disable those orange wires with this little orange key over here. Pull up, out, and this little key comes out. It's a safety plug. Right now, you could go mess with those orange wires I showed you up front. It wouldn't hurt you, it wouldn't do anything, because they're not connected. It's a pretty neat little setup here. To take this out, if you want to service it yourself, it's fairly heavy. If you look at Hoovie's garage, Tyler actually did one of these himself. I don't remember where he got the battery packs from. You'd have to watch the video, but he ordered a set. It came with all the batteries. He did it himself. He put it back in. Actually, this is the set that he did, and it's been working flawlessly. Works great. It is a do-it-yourself job if he can do it. So, but always take this out. When you put this back in, if you just go like this and say, okay, I got it, you don't got it, you'll have an alarm on your dash. It'll say that there's an issue with this safety key. What you need to do is push it in the up position and then back down. Just that action right there, not pushing this all the way down, you get instant alarms and codes, and your computer will surely let you know that you've made a mistake. So up and then down. There we go. Now we're armed again. So basically, when you first start this thing up and you just creep forward real slowly, these cars actually run on electric battery power only without even turning on the engine. But once you get up to a certain speed, or you need more power, or you need more charging availability, then the motor kicks on and takes over from there. These cars are not like a Chevy Volt or something where the engine is just a booster. Like a BMW i3, it's just a booster. It doesn't actually physically connect to the wheels. All it does is charge the batteries. On a Prius, it does run the wheels. It can run the transmission. You want to get on an on-ramp real fast. Your gas engine is going to get you on the highway, not your electric portion. But once you get into cruise, then it starts pulling amps. It starts really getting the alternator going and charging up your main batteries while you're cruising down the highway. And it is an alternator. It's AC, and it converts over to DC. So we'll just leave that be, and we'll go back to the red Prius. So if you've never driven one of these before and you just get behind the wheel, it can be quite an alarming experience. It's totally different than your average car. When my daughter first got in the car, I gave her the keys. She was used to driving the DeVille. You turn the key, you hear the starter, and then the engine starts, and then you put it in drive or reverse or whatever, and then you go. She got into this car. I told her to put their foot on the brake and hit the power button, and nothing happened. It's just quiet. I said, put it in drive. She says, I can't. The engine hasn't started. I said, it's not going to. And she's like, what? I said, put it in drive. Just trust me. And she did, and it took off real quietly for a while. She was just cruising on electric only. It's totally blew her mind. You come to a stoplight, and it's a nice, cool day. You have your windows down. Your engine just dies. And that's perfectly fine. It dies. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's got start-stop technology. It's not wasting fuel while you're sitting there at the stoplight. It'll turn it off. One thing also that my daughter complained about, the DeVille took a long time to stop because it's so big and heavy. So when you hit your brakes, the computer will sense that. Not only will your brakes bring you to a stop, but the charging system will start charging really heavily. There's all kinds of little things to get used to when you get one of these, but I thought I'd give a quick little rundown to show you guys how some of it works. We need to take a walk and show you guys something. This is no longer my Rolls Royce. I've just gotten to the point where I know that I'm not going to have time doing this, trying to figure out all the wiring. So one of the things that really bothered me about trying to get this fixed is it originally, like I mentioned in my video, it was a right-hand drive car. The VIN number even says it's a right-hand drive car, but you can see it has a left-hand steering wheel. They ran the harness over to bring all the electrics over to this side. All the wires are red. There's a red one, there's a red one, and a red one, and a red one, and a red one, and a red one. There's no chart, I got through some of it and I got it figured out, but it was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. That's what pretty much I've lost interest in trying to get that going. The person that's buying this is the person that's been helping Tyler out, J&J Auto in Ohio. If you click the link below, a link to their contact information, their website. If you're in the market and you're needing parts, actually off of this car, you need a grill, you need the headlamps buckets, you need any parts on here, get a hold of them. They're all here, all of them. Just don't ask for the wiring harness in the dash. That's not going to be any good. You don't need to search all over the internet like crazy. Just go to J&J Auto and check them out. I'm sure they'll hook you up. So I wanted to say bye-bye to the Rolls Royce. It won't be very much longer, and this will be an empty spot here. Let's go back here to the engine. I got a couple more things and then we'll be done. On my last video, we took this apart and I ran into a snag needing a 9mm triple square. I actually searched all over town. I went all over the place. Nobody had one. I have a kit that's got 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. It's quite a large kit, but not the 9. So I've got the tool on order. I finally decided to just order the tool, and I do want to take this cylinder head off for you guys. Once I get the tool, I'll be taking this off and we can take a look. I'm not going to leave you guys hanging on that all. So the next video I'll include a small clip of us taking that off. Let's head back over to the Prius and finish up. So I hope you guys enjoyed the little run through on this. I mean, there's so much more information on this car. I could spend an hour talking about it. But I just gave you a quick little rundown of how some of the systems work, where some of the things are located. And again, I'm very pleased with the car. Almost 200,000 miles, and you guys saw it's so clean under there. It's so nice, and it drives like a new car. She really likes it. I'm real thankful for all the positive comments I got on the last video. Got a lot of supporters. It's almost like a family. I really appreciate it. Check our merchandise out. There's a link below you can click. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, go ahead and do that. And thanks for watching. We got many more videos to come.